I couldn't shake the feeling it belonged to someone, someone who might not have made it back from the woods. One evening, while scrolling through social media, a post caught my attention. A missing person alert for a hiker last seen in the same area I'd been. Her name was Sarah Reed. A photograph accompanied the text. My stomach dropped as I recognized her face. She had been part of a group camping there a few weeks before me. Determined to find out more, I reached out to her family. I learned she had last been seen hiking alone, venturing into the depths of the forest, despite warnings about strange occurrences. They mentioned reports of unsettling noises and shadows. It mirrored my experience, and my heart raced with the thought that our paths might have crossed. That night, I did something I hadn't planned on. I searched online for any local forums discussing the woods. There were plenty. Many talked of whispers and strange sightings. A few claimed to have seen figures moving in the distance, just like I had. It felt like a web closing in around me. My obsession with this mystery deepened as I read post after post, unable to look away. Then came the unexpected. A message popped up in my inbox from an anonymous user on a forum. "I know what you saw. Meet me at the park tomorrow night." My pulse quickened. Part of me wanted to dismiss it as a prank, but the other part felt a strong pull to know more. The next evening, anxiety twisted in my gut as I stood at the edge of the park. Everything felt amplified, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl. Time crawled. I nearly turned away when a figure stepped from the shadows. A man, dressed in dark clothes, his face obscured by a hood. "Mark?" he asked, his voice low. "Yeah, that's me," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I've been watching you," he said, taking a step forward. "You shouldn't have gone into those woods." Fear gripped me. "Why? What do you know?" He glanced around, as if checking for someone. "It's not safe. You've stirred something up. You need to leave it alone." Panic surged again. "What do you mean? What happened to Sarah?" He hesitated, the shadow of fear passing over his face. "She wasn't alone. The others, they were taken." "Taken?" My voice barely came out. "There's something out there, Mark. It's not friendly. If you want to survive, just go home tonight and forget what you saw." Before I could respond, he slipped back into the shadows, leaving me with dread pulsing through my veins. The whispers returned, swirling around me like a sinister song. I needed answers, but now I realized there were forces at play that I couldn't comprehend. Then I heard it, an ominous rustling among the trees. Someone or something was coming. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The rustling grew louder, approaching fast. I wanted to run, but my feet felt glued to the ground. A sharp breath cut through the night air, and I felt an icy shiver run down my spine. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the noise stopped. The silence felt heavier, almost like it was pressing down on me. I strained my ears, hoping to catch some hint of what was out there, but nothing came. Just my own shaky breaths. That's when I turned to leave. I didn't want to see whatever had been lurking in the darkness. I stumbled backward, my gaze darting around the park, searching for any sign of life, any reassurance that I wasn't alone. My instincts screamed at me to get away, to run back to my car. But before I could take a step, I noticed something glinting in the moonlight at the tree line. My stomach twisted. I hesitated, curiosity battling with my fear. I stepped closer, heart racing, and squinted through the shadows. It looked like fabric, tattered and dirty, fluttering gently like it was caught on a branch. I approached slowly, my breath shallow. As I got closer, panic bubbled within me. It was the same fabric, the same color as the piece I'd found weeks ago. My hands trembled when I reached out to touch it. I pulled at it, and it came free from the branch, revealing a trail that led deeper into the woods. Suddenly, the whispers returned, louder this time, coiling around me like a tight noose. The words were distorted and frantic, echoing the voices of lost hikers. I couldn't make them out, but the urgency was unmistakable. My heartbeat raced again. This was not the time to linger. I stepped back, but before I could turn to leave, I felt a presence behind me. I spun around, ready to confront whatever was out there. My heart dropped. The man from the park stood several feet away, his hood still obscuring his face. "You shouldn't be here," he said again, but this time his tone was more urgent, layered with desperation. "You don't understand. They won't let you leave." The chill in the air deepened, and I could see movement at the edges of the trees, shadows dancing, crawling closer. I almost screamed, but fear kept it trapped in my throat. "Who won't let me leave?" I finally managed to ask, my voice barely a whisper. He took a step closer, his expression unreadable. "It's their territory. If you linger too long, you might not come back at all." Before I could respond, his eyes widened as if he sensed something I didn't. He turned abruptly and ran toward the path leading away from the park. I hesitated, looking back into the woods where the shadows seemed to beckon, and then followed him. But as I ran, I heard a low growl echo behind me. The shadows roared to life, darting from tree to tree, and I realized we were not alone anymore. Then everything went dark. I jolted awake, gasping for air. The darkness felt suffocating. Panic surged in my chest as I struggled to make sense of my surroundings. My heart raced, and I could barely hear my own thoughts over the pounding in my ears. I was lying on the ground, the cool earth rough against my back. The cold air nipped at my skin, sending chills through me. The last thing I remember was the feeling, the icy fingers on my arm, pulling me into the shadows. I screamed, but no one heard me. I found myself in a place that felt torn from reality. The shadows melted away as I was yanked into darkness, and then suddenly I was lying on the ground again. The crisp air washed over me, but the weight of fear still clung to my skin. I sat up, heart racing. Desperately I looked around. No dark shapes, no growling echoes, just silence and the whisper of leaves. The clearing seemed normal now, but the memory of those chilling whispers rattled my mind. I could still hear the soft, familiar voice calling out, "Help me." Had that voice really been there? It felt far too real, and it sent chills up my spine. I pushed myself to stand, needing to find a way out of this nightmare. Then I noticed it. In the middle of the clearing, half buried in leaves and dirt, was a small wooden box. It looked like something left behind by a hiker decades ago. Curiosity pushed through my fear. I stepped closer, my heart pounding again as I felt drawn to it. What if it held answers? Or worse, what if it was something I should avoid? I knelt and brushed away the dirt. The wood was weathered, covered in strange carvings, symbols I didn't recognize. They felt familiar, like echoes of dreams I couldn't entirely recall. I reached out a trembling hand and lifted the lid. Inside was a shimmer of golden light, illuminating a small crystal pendant. It gleamed as if alive, calling to me directly. It lay there motionless, but I couldn't shake the feeling it was watching me. Just then, a rustle in the trees brought me back to my senses. Hey, it was the man from the park, stumbling into the clearing. His breath came in sharp gasps. "You need to leave right now." "What is this?" I asked, glancing between him and the box, panic rising in me again. "Don't touch it! That's what they want!" he shouted, horror etched on his face. "It's a lure!" Before I could respond, the air thickened. I felt the shadows coming back, slithering through the trees. They were closing in. The low growl returned, more menacing this time, and my heart sank. "What wants it?" I gasped, pulling my hand away from the box. "The shadows, they feed on lost souls. They want that pendant to trap you," he explained, stepping closer. "You can't let them have it." In that moment, the whispers intensified, clawing at my mind. "Help me! Help me!" They swirled around me, a tangled web of voices. The familiarity sank deeper, and I suddenly realized my sister had gone missing years ago. It all clicked. That was her voice. "No," I whispered, frozen. A wave of betrayal crashed over me. Was I being pulled into something that would take me to her? I couldn't leave her behind again. The man grabbed my arm, shaking me. "We have to go, now!" As he dragged me away from the box, I turned back. But the pendant glowed brighter, almost beckoning me, like it knew I was torn. That's when I saw her face, just outside the shadows, pleading through the chaos. "Let go!" I yelled, but the darkness surged forward. I was at a cliff's edge in my mind, uncertain whether to leap forward or pull back. But the darkness was heavier than any fear I had faced. The shadows were closing in fast, and the whispers became a chorus. I had to make a choice. The next moment would decide everything. I wrenched my arm free from the man's grip, breathless. "I can't leave her," I said, panic flooding my voice. The moment hung heavy, filled with indecision. The shadows flickered at the edges, eager to swallow us whole. "Please," he begged, his eyes wild. "You don't understand. There's no saving her. The only way to protect yourself is to get away from that." The pendant pulsed, its light blazing. My sister's face flickered in my memory, desperate yet familiar.
I felt the weight of her absence crushing me. What if this is the only way I can find her? The thought bubbled to the surface, and I was paralyzed by the choice. Suddenly, the growls intensified. The darkness thickened, and I could feel the oppressive weight pressing down, urging me to surrender to its call. The man stood firm beside me, his fear transforming to determination. "We can't stay here," they yelled. At that moment, the shadows surged forward, clawing at the air, as if trying to break through a barrier between us and whatever lay beyond. I looked back at the box, the golden light of the pendant contrasting sharply against the dark. I was torn apart, pulled in two directions. Then I saw it, a glimpse of clarity through the chaos. The whispers quieted momentarily, and I caught the hint of something in the air. A melody mixed in with the pleading calls. It was soft, a lullaby I remembered from childhood. My sister used to sing it to me. Could it be a safe path to her, or just another trick? "There's no time," the man shouted, pulling on my arm again. "We have to go now!" As he pulled me towards the edge of the clearing, adrenaline surged through me. I fought against it, glancing back at the box once more. It seemed to shimmer with a promise that whispered deep in my mind. But the growls broke through my thoughts, a physical reminder of the peril surrounding us. "Run!" he yelled. Before I could process his command, he took off into the trees, dragging me along. I stumbled behind him, my heart racing. I glanced back one last time, fearing what I'd left behind. The shadows were swirling like a storm around the box, hungry for the warmth of our bodies. We charged through the trees, the branches catching at our clothes and skin. My feet pounded against the ground, but all I could think about was the pendant and my sister. The further we got from the clearing, the more the whispers faded, but they were never gone. They stayed, lingering at the edge of my mind. After what felt like an eternity, we stopped, panting. I leaned against a tree, struggling to catch my breath.
The man turned to face me, his expression serious. "You have to forget about her." "No, I can't," I shot back, my voice trembling. "What if she's out there?" "Then you need to get as far away as you can. They don't just want her, they want you too." His stare was unyielding. "Trust me, if you go back for that pendant, you won't make it out alive." Just then, a deep growl echoed through the trees nearby. My heart dropped as I realized we were not safe yet. The shadows were still hunting us, and the night had just begun. That's when I heard it, the soft tune threaded through the growls, familiar and inviting. It tugged at my heart, refusing to let me go. As fear seeped into my bones, I knew we couldn't stay put. The chase was just ramping up, and we had to find a way out of this nightmare before it consumed me completely. We moved quickly, slipping deeper into the trees. The man's presence was both a comfort and a reminder of my choices. "What's your name?" I gasped, lungs burning as I navigated the roots and underbrush. "Daniel," he replied, never breaking stride. "And you need to trust me right now, Alex." "Why should I? You're the one who pulled me away from my sister," I shot back, frustration bubbling over. "Because I know what you're up against," he said, his voice low and urgent. "And staying with me is your best chance of survival."
Every step made my heart pound harder. I didn't want to believe him, but the deep growls that echoed behind us twisted my stomach. It sounded like they were gaining ground. Just then I tripped over a root and sprawled on the cold forest floor. "Go!" I shouted instinctively, but Daniel grabbed my arm. "Not without you. You can't be slow now, Alex." He helped me up, and we resumed our flight. In the distance, the melody wrapped around me again, tantalizing. "Do you hear that?" I paused, trying to focus. "Not now!" Daniel shouted, pulling me along. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the tune was calling out, weaving through the night air like a thread, connecting me to something lost. As we broke through a dense thicket, I spotted a creek glistening under the moonlight. "We need to get across," I said, nearly breathless. "It might throw them off our trail." Daniel nodded. Together we rushed down the gravel bank. I slipped into the cool water, gasping at the chill, but pushed forward, feeling the current pulling at my legs. Daniel was right beside me, his expression still grim as he scanned the dark embankments for danger. As soon as we reached the opposite bank, I turned back. The growls had faded, but I strained to catch the sound of the melody again. It felt so close. "I have to—" "No, Alex!" Daniel grabbed my arm, his grip firm. "That's what they want. Don't go back." "Just let me listen for a second," I pleaded. "It won't help." He looked wild, desperate. "It's a lure. It's not your sister." But I didn't care. I turned in the direction of the sound, trying to hone in on it.
What do we do? Panic crept back in, and I felt the walls closing in around me, like they did when I had first lost my sister. "Just stay quiet. We need to wait for it to pass." He was composed, but I could see fear flicker across his face as he moved to the window, peering through the grime. I moved to his side, desperate to see something, anything, that would give me a clue about our pursuer. But the night was silent now. Only the sound of our shallow breaths filled the cabin. "Do you think it's gone?" I wasn't sure if I was asking him or myself. Before he could answer, there was a sharp knock against the door, violent and forceful. My heart dropped, and I clutched Daniel's arm. He swung his gaze toward me, eyes wide, and I could feel the cold sweat coating my palms. "We can't stay here," he muttered, urgency seeping into his voice. "We need to move again." Before I could respond, the door trembled as the creature pushed against it. The old wood groaned under pressure, and I knew that any moment it could break through. "What do we do?" Daniel searched the room, adrenaline coursing through him like a fire. There has to be another way out. At that moment I heard another sound, uneasily familiar. The melody returned, softer this time, weaving its way through the cracks in the walls, as if beckoning us to the danger outside. That's when I realized it wasn't just a lullaby. It was a warning. Fear gripped my throat, and I felt the shadows pooling around my knees in the cabin. The familiar tune was a treacherous siren, one that summoned memories of my sister, almost like she was reaching out across the void. "We can't go out there," I whispered, my voice trembling. "Whatever that is, it's waiting for us."
Daniel's brow furrowed, the pull of the melody resonating between us like a tangible thread. We can't hide here either. The creature will find a way in. His eyes darted to the door as another heavy thud shook the frame. He turned to me, urgency etched across his face. We need to find a way to escape. I nodded, my heart pounding as I glanced around the dim room. The windows were filthy and covered in grime, but light seeped through. I stepped closer to one, brushing away the dust with trembling fingers. As I peered out, I could barely make out the outlines of trees, but the darkness was thick like a curtain. Somewhere out there, the whispers faded softly, only to return in a half-familiar cadence. "Alex!" Daniel tugged my arm, snapping me out of my momentary trance. "This way!" He led me toward the back of the cabin, where a small window sat, slightly ajar. Before I could think better of it, he pushed it open, and the hinges creaked in protest. A sliver of silver moonlight streaked in, illuminating two figures within the shadows cast by the half-closed curtains. For a moment I thought my eyes played tricks, but the shapes flickered like shadows, constantly shifting.
The whispers blended com o sound de meu heart, tudando em meus ouvidos, growing louder, demandando atenção. They weren't just beckoning, they were desperate. What if? My voice caught as realization dawned on me. What if my sister is one of those shadows? I took a step back, terror coursing through my veins. It felt like a cruel twist in the narrative of my life. The forest clinging to pieces de meu cor. Don't think like that. Daniel's voice was sharply cutting. If we don't get out of here, you'll never know. You'll have to let her go. His words hung heavy, a physical weight on my chest. I couldn't let go. I wouldn't. But then the thought of the darkness swallowing me whole made me shudder. The tension in the air was suffocating, pushing me toward a decision I did not care to make. With trembling hands, I climbed through the narrow window, landing outside on the damp ground. Daniel followed quickly, his body sliding through the gap, and we rushed into the night. The forest loomed ominosamente around us, branches snapping underfoot. "We have to get deeper into the woods," he urged, looking back toward the cabin. "Go, now!" A deep growl echoed behind us as the creature rattled the door, tearing at the ancient wood. Fear lit a fire within me as we sprinted deeper into the cover of trees. The melody faded as the growl morphed into a chorus of sinister snarls. "This way," Daniel pointed as we veered off the main path, the shadows that clung to the trees blocking the moonlight. I couldn't forget the figure, the whispers begging in the back of my mind, urging me to listen for them, as if they were reaching for something. We stumbled deeper, branches lashing at us, as if the forest itself were attempting to hold us in place. It felt surreal, everything blended into a cacophony of sounds, growling, whispers, and the rustle of leaves. Then, no more than a few yards ahead, I dropped to my knees in disbelief. There it was, an ominous sight, a gathering of shadows swirling at the heart of a thicket. They formed an unholy congregation at the base of a colossal tree, its gnarled branches reaching upward like claws against the night sky. Within the shadows lay something glinting. "What the hell?" Daniel muttered, eyes wide as he scanned the area. "Are those—"
Lost souls, I whispered, the truth dawning on me. Faces I recognized were mingling among the shifting forms, despair etched into their very being. They're trapped here, just like my sister. It was as if they were calling to me. "No," Daniel hissed, "you can't." But I couldn't help it. The urge to move closer was overwhelming, magnetic. I took a step forward, teeth gritting. "Stop!" His hand shot out to grasp my shoulder, holding me back. "We need to leave them. They are not here to help." Yet the melodic whispers intensified, creatures of darkness pulling at my heart. "Help me." I felt the tightening of bonds that once held me safe, breaking away with another step.
Suddenly, shadows leapt toward us, e eu felt easy fingers grazendo meu arm. They beckoned, pleading, "Come here." A terrible darkness swirled, tentando draw me in. "Run, now!" Daniel shouted, his voice breaking through the haunting calls. Panic surged, e eu tore me away from these whispers pulling me closer. "I can't," I choked, stumbling back toward him. "We can't leave them. They—" A loud crash erupted behind us as the figure emerged from the thicket, a shadowed creature, mer terrificando ch'io could fathom. It lunged toward me, and instinct took over. "Alex, now!" Daniel screamed, dragging me along as I fought against the instinct to stay. I couldn't move fast enough, and shadows once again slithered back toward the tree. We barreled through the thicket, branches snapping and leaves tearing at us as we escaped the horrific sight behind. The growls grew fainter, but they never fully disappeared. I could still hear them, always watching, always waiting. Breathless and disoriented, we finally broke through, stumbling into a small clearing bathed in moonlight. I leaned against a tree, fumbling for my breath, while Daniel surveyed Nosu's surroundings. "What now?" My voice barely rose above a whisper. "We keep moving," he said, eyes hard. But something flickered behind his gaze. "What about the shadows?" I said, still feeling the chill of them lingering in my bones. "What if they come for us?" "They will," he replied, steely determination coloring his tone. "But I promise you this, we can't fight them. We need to escape." As we turned to leave, the whispers caught up to us once more, but I felt different now. Heavier with the weight of knowing, of seeing the darkness up close. "Will we be okay?" I asked, doubt creeping through my heart. Daniel hesitated. "It's hard to say, but we have to try." But the truth gnawed within me, understanding that no matter how far we distanced ourselves, the pull of the forest and its shadows would always linger. Would I be forever haunted by what had been lost? As we retraced our steps, I still felt the essence of the darkness shadowing my thoughts. I guess I would always be looking over my shoulder for those lost souls, wondering if I truly escaped.